Prepare for a roller coaster of jaw-dropping stunts, hilarious fails, heartwarming triumphs, and mind-bending skills. Our carefully curated compilation guarantees a front-row seat to the most captivating moments. Let the excitement unfold. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my husband's affair baby live with us for a while? I married my husband very young. 3 years into our marriage, we got a divorce because he had an affair and got his mistress pregnant. We were split for 5 years. Then decided we had changed as people and reconciled for our daughter we had before the divorce and for ourselves, with the help of counseling. We've now been together for 6 years. During the years apart, I had another child with a serious partner who sadly passed away. A few days ago, we got a call from my husband's ex-mistress. She says her job wanted to fly her out of state this weekend for an opportunity, but it's impossible with her son, and asked us if we would be willing to take him in on short notice. Usually, my husband gets a hotel and stays with his son when she flies out, but she said this time would be a longer-term stay. I told my husband, absolutely not. That wasn't happening. He said I was being unfair and that he cares for my daughter, who's from my late partner, like his own, and I should do the same. I screamed at him and said, my daughter isn't the product of my affair. Absolutely no way is he staying here. He got angry and said that I was being ridiculous and a shrew, because the child is innocent. In my eyes, it hurts me too much to look at that boy. Am I the a-hole? No, I don't think so. It's not that kind of a thing. This son was a result of an affair. You two were separated and divorced and were not a thing when the woman had the baby with a serious partner. And that's a different situation. I think he would just have to find a way to arrange for something longer term outside of it. I really also think that probably need to go a little to address therapy a little more if this is becoming an issue. It sounds like there's still some unresolved problems that this affair is still dividing you two over, even this long after you've gone so far to reconcile. Story 2. School admin spanked my kid without permission. What do I do in terms of prosecution? Hi all. We're in Texas, near Houston. My son is in 3rd grade. There is another boy in his grade with the exact same name whose parents have given permission for him to be spanked in school. I have not. I'm sure you can imagine where this is going. The boys were mixed up, and my son was spanked after running away from class. He wet himself and was sent back to class in his wet clothes, where his class teacher finally called me. He's really upset. I do not hit my children, and he was spanked hard enough to leave marks hours after it happened. I've taken photos as it's all faded now. I've got him booked in to see a therapist and be assessed if that will help at all. He's regressed horrifically following the incident, and his general pediatrician thinks we could be looking at years of trauma therapy. I cannot explain to you how bad this is. The school apologized to me over the phone and in an email said that they're updating their system to have the children's faces be used as the confirmation rather than the name. That's all. I'm so angry. I don't know what to do. I'm trying not to rage because he doesn't need that. So I'm hoping someone can point me in the right direction here. I do not want to go to the media if I can help it, because following my son around could make recovery even harder for him. Thank you to anyone who has advice. Well, hopefully someone in the comments will be able to give this kind of advice, because I'm not sure what to do. I've never lived in Texas. And yeah, you're facing some bills here that it sounds like someone in the school system should be able to handle. And if they don't, why do they not have some kind of mental health care for kids Other than this is Texas. Yeah, I know that's facetious. But what do you think? Do they have legal recourses that do not involve the kid? Story 3. I broke up with my girlfriend over Earpods today. It was awesome. My girlfriend, female 22, and I, male 25, have been dating for almost a year now. She's in university, living in the university residence. I work full-time and have my own place. Her residence has some very strict rules, such as no male guests aside from parents and a strict curfew. This will be important later. We're not in the U.S., by the way. Before the Easter holidays, a few friends and I planned a road trip. I invited her, but she declined. The day before my road trip, I decided to get some new earbuds for the trip. My girlfriend came with me to the shop. Once there, my girlfriend decided that she would like a new pair of AirPods. I relented and bought her a pair and got myself some Boss earbuds since I preferred those and I don't have an iPhone. On our way back to the university, she mentioned that she liked my earbuds since they look better than her AirPods. She took them, paired them to her phone, and started playing around with them. I didn't think much of it until she said she wanted them and wanted to trade her AirPods with my earbuds. I told her no because I don't have an iPhone, so AirPods would be useless to me. Found out later that they work pretty well on Android, and that we can exchange hers when I get back since going back now would make her late for curfew. She kept insisting that it would make her happy. I told her I needed them for my trip in the morning, which seemed to be the end of it. We got to her residence, and as I was parking, she threw her AirPods at me and said, "Thanks for the trade," then jumped out of the moving car, still wearing my earbuds. I was shocked, and it took me a second to realize that she had just run away with my earbuds. I parked and then ran after her, but I wasn't fast enough. She had already entered the building. I stood at the entrance with two very burly guards giving me the stink eye while I shouted for her to come back. She just blew me a kiss and went upstairs. I shouted a bit more until the guards very politely asked me to leave. I was livid. She had just robbed me, and there was nothing I could do. I stalked back to my car, fuming and cursing. However, I started laughing when I got to my car because there on the ground, near the passenger side door, was a lovely white box. It seems in her mad dash to run away, she had accidentally dropped the charging case. I picked it up. My day suddenly brighter and drove back to the shop. I exchanged the AirPods and got new earbuds, then blocked her, and the next morning went for the road trip. I unblocked her when I got back yesterday, ready to deal with the big storm, and called her. At first, she was sweet and asked about my trip. Then she asked if she had left the charging case for her earbuds in my car. I told her that I had returned the AirPods and exchanged them for new earbuds, and that since my new earbuds didn't work with my old charging case, I had thrown it away because I didn't need it. That triggered her, and she started shouting at me, calling me a jerkwad, and demanding that I get her a new pair of earbuds or we're done. I said, "Okay, I guess we're done," and then hung up. I've been laughing ever since. It seems you were really able to go back and exchange the AirPods for new earbuds. It kind of sounds like this argument could have been avoided, but you decided to go through with it because she just seems very selfish. Just really, thanks for it, just claiming prima boyfriend or prima nocte on your earbuds for some reason. But I guess it all worked out. I mean, do you think it sounds like there was some issues he was dealing about with this girl long before this situation? Or was this just something that came out of the blue? Story 1. Am I the a-hole for calling the C word to my future sister-in-law after she tried to gain sympathy with my miscarriage? I'm sorry if this seems all over the place. I'm just so mad that everyone is siding with her. My future sister-in-law, Ella, 30 female, is your typically annoyingly bubbly girl. She is always happy and smiling, caring and compassionate. My brother, 37 male, is foolishly in love with her, and it seems like the rest of my family is wrapped around her finger. My brother and I, 34 female, grow up very close. When we were 10 and 7 years old, my father passed away, and our mother, 69 female, struggled as a single mother until she met our stepfather, 65 male, who is truly an amazing person. They had our little brother, 28 male, who happens to be Ella's best friend and the reason she met our brother. 28 days ago, my husband, Mark, 34 male, and I tragically lost our pregnancy at 22 weeks. It was devastating then, and it still is. I haven't been ready to talk to my therapist about it yet. This was our first pregnancy that progressed this far, so we were filled with hope. Since the loss, I made it clear that I didn't want to talk to anyone and that I didn't want any visits. However, Ella kept sending deliveries of food every now and then with stupid messages like, "You are cared for," and "We're here for you," thinking of you. It infuriates me to hear Mark commenting on how nice and thoughtful she is. Last night, she asked me if she could come over with my mom and my brothers to quickly discuss something about the wedding. She apologized, saying she knew it wasn't the right time, but the wedding is only a month away and this conversation couldn't be delayed any longer. In essence, Ella wants to postpone the wedding for another 6 months. It's a small affair hosted at a friend's place, and since she briefly explained the situation, the vendors are willing to change the date at a minimal cost. To paraphrase her, she said, "I don't feel this is the best time to have a wedding. I really want you at my wedding party, and I suspect you won't want to be around people asking you what happened." As if she knows what I want or don't want. Of course, everyone started going off about such a great idea and how sweet that was of her, moving a special date for her just to accommodate me. What made me snap was what she said next. "Whenever you feel up to it, we could have a girls' day to get you a new dress." Mine was pink, made specifically to fit my growing bump. I screamed at her that she was a C-word for looking for sympathy at my expense. I hope my brother and everyone else could see her for the conniving and manipulative piece of work she was. That the only girl time I wanted to have was with my beloved girl that isn't with us anymore. All of them were stunned, and she ran out crying. My brother told me to seek therapy, and my mom and little bro just left. This morning, my husband told me that while he understood and shared my grievances, I shouldn't lash out at innocent people, that she only wanted to help. I cannot speak to the pain of losing a pregnancy. I don't think I'll ever know what that's like. And I can imagine this person is in a lot of pain. It does feel like she's lashing out at this person. Granted, this girl, Ella, seems to be overreaching and doing a lot of stuff, even though this woman said she clearly didn't want any visits or anything. But kind of, that's all she's guilty of. Maybe people are doting over her and her decisions. I don't think it should have been a meeting with her to discuss the wedding, or just to discuss the moving of the date. But I don't think that this woman feels like she's getting the support she needs or getting what she needs from those around her, and everyone is focused on this woman. That's about all I can glean from this. What do you think? Story 2. Only take breaks when I tell you to. Sure, no problem. I used to work at a call center where we would get flooded with calls constantly. This is a story of how a busybody boss thought they understood everything since they were in charge. At work, we were given 2 15-minute breaks and one 45-minute lunch break. The breaks were scheduled into our day so you could see when they would be, but this would change day by day. My role was a bit different than the normal agents, as I was specifically dealing with the higher issue calls. These calls could take up to 1 hour to complete, and the caller would need to stay on the line unless they were fine with a callback later, but this was rarely the case. Since I never knew when I would be getting these calls, my break times were a shot in the dark if I would or wouldn't be on a call. I would just take them as soon as the call was done if they ever intersected, which they did 99% of the time. Enter my boss. During a performance review, I hit all the marks except for attendance. I asked about this as I know I missed a few days, but always with a reasonable update for time frame and never had a no-show day where there was no warning that I'm not coming in. My boss stated that attendance also applies to break and lunch times, and since I rarely took them at the requested time, I was getting written up. I explained my role, that they hired me for, and the challenges involved. They did not care and stated I needed to take breaks when I was told to. I asked them to send me an email so that I could print it out, put it on my desk, and never forget again. My boss smiled ear to ear, probably because they thought I was groveling at that point, and sure enough, they did. Stating in the email, "You must take your breaks only when the schedule tells you to. No time else. There is no excuse." I saved it, printed it out, sent a copy to my own email, and followed it to the letter. Next call that happened that same day, of course, had the long call crossing over with a break issue. I asked the customer if it would be okay for a callback. They said no. I stated that unfortunately, I cannot stay on the line as I am required to take my break. They became enraged and demanded to speak with my boss. I told my boss, and they said that I need to apologize and finish the call. I showed them the email that they just sent to me and said, "You told me to take my break at this time no matter what. I'm just doing what you told me to do. I'm taking my break. Would you like the customer transferred over? Or should I just hang up?" They took the call over, and from that day on, I never had a missed attendance mark. Man, busybody bosses are the worst. Yeah, get proof. Get it written out so that when they make these kind of decisions, you can say, "Look, I'm following your instructions." Exactly. You did the right thing. What else are you going to do? And you also have proof in case they decide to go against their word, and it needs to be taken care of legally. Great job. Story 1. My mother thinks she's entitled to alcohol at my wedding. My fiancé, 35 male, and I, 33, non-binary, are getting married in 2 weeks in our backyard. We will be having a catering spread for our reception afterwards. We decided to have a dry wedding for 2 reasons. My mom is an alcoholic who is known for making a scene when she gets drunk, and my fiancé has a brother who binge drinks and has had alcohol poisoning on more than one occasion. He doesn't drink all the time, but if he starts, he can't stop until he either passes out or someone physically restrains him from getting more. I also have an uncle, Mom's brother, and a stepdad who are in recovery and don't need the temptation. Neither fiancé and I are big drinkers, so we decided to just avoid any problems and just have a dry wedding. We will have a less dry reception, party/honeymoon with some of our friends later on. All of our families have been supportive. My uncle was especially grateful to us for doing this since he takes his recovery very seriously and has been 7 years sober. I sent out wedding invitations 4 months ago and said it would be a dry wedding and asked people not to bring alcohol. Now today, I get this call from my mom, who I also sent an invitation to 4 months ago. Mom, is it true you're not having alcohol at your wedding? Me, yes. Fiancé and I decided we didn't want alcohol during our special time. Mom, that's so silly. It's going to make your wedding boring. Me, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but Fiancé and I have made our decision. We want everyone to feel comfortable at our wedding. Mom, clearly you don't care about my comfort. What if I want to have a little drink to pass the time? Me, like you did at a different uncle's wedding where you got so drunk and made a horrible scene calling uncle's wife a gold digger? Mom, it wasn't my fault. They made the drinks there too strong. Me, right. I really wish you would address this need to have alcohol wherever you go. Mom, I don't need to have alcohol. I just think your wedding will be boring without it. You want to have a fun wedding, don't you? Me, it will be a fun wedding. We don't need alcohol to have fun. Mom, oh, this is so stupid. Why should everyone else be punished just to make it comfortable for a few people? It seemed like you care more about uncle and stepdad than anyone else. Me, or maybe I just want to avoid any scenes. Mom, I just told you that wasn't my fault. Me, just like your DUI isn't your fault? Mom, how dare you bring that difficult time in my life? I was going through a lot emotionally. What the hell is wrong with you kids? You need to mind your own business. If I want to drink, that's my business. Me, well, my wedding is my business. We don't want alcohol there. That's final. I can't stop you if you decide to pre-game my wedding, but I've already made it clear to uncles and brothers that if you cause a scene, that you're to be made to leave. Mom starts crying. Why do you kids hate me so much? What did I ever do to deserve being treated like this by my children? Me, are you really ready for me to go down that list? Mom, none of you understand. None of you will ever understand. I'm the mother of the bride. I shouldn't be treated like this. I should be treated better. Me, I think I've treated you pretty well during this process. I've acquiesced to your boyfriend, whom I don't even know, coming to my wedding. I've even given in to some of your other demands. So please, tell me how you've been mistreated. Mom, you didn't invite me to go dress shopping. The mother of the bride always goes dress shopping with her daughter. I barely know the fiancé because you never bring him around here. How do I know that you're marrying the right person? Me, that's because Aunt made my dress. Mom, sarcastically, oh, well, isn't that just special? Me, as for the rest, I think you know why. We aren't really close enough for you to have any say in who my significant other is. Honestly, Mom, I'm done with this conversation. If you really feel that strongly about this, I'll understand if you don't want to attend my wedding. Mom, oh, I bet you'd like that, wouldn't you? One way or another, you will respect me as your mother. Me, sure, Mom. I'm hanging up now. Bye. Guys, I'm so livid right now. I have half a mind to want to invite her. I spoke to my dad and her brother. My uncle thinks her drinking is getting really bad again and has been wanting to hold an intervention. I told him I'm focused on the wedding right now, but that I definitely agree this was out of line and something needs to be done. What should I do? I don't want her ruining my wedding, but I'm so tired of dealing with this. Sorry, this is probably above anyone's pay grade. I just needed to vent. I really am on the fence about this. If you uninvited her to the wedding right off the bat, she might just make some sort of scene before. She might just try to crash. I don't know if she will or not. If you let her there, she's probably going to pre-game or she's probably going to try and sneak something in. And it's best probably to find a couple of people who would be, a couple of relatives who'd be willing to stand guard at the door while this is happening, really. Because one way or the other, I think she's going to show up drunk. What do you think?
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 1. My ex-boyfriend has never paid child support for our 4-year-old son. Today, I received a letter stating he's taking me to court over it. I am a single mother with a 4-year-old son. His father and I split up around 4 years ago when I found out he was cheating on me with multiple women. He has never paid any child support. I could have taken him to court for it when we separated, but he convinced me not to as he was unemployed at the time. Around then, he had also won an insurance lawsuit in the ballpark of $10,000 and promised he would send money for our son whenever he could. 3 years later, I've learned that this means never. Over the last 3 years, I've worked my hands to the bone doing several different part-time jobs, just so that I can afford to pay my rent and raise my son alone. Meanwhile, my former substance addict ex stayed unemployed and absent from my son's life, eventually going on a spiritual cross-country hitchhiking road trip to help inspire his songwriting process. Seriously. This actually really got on my nerves. His deep and spiritual song lyrics were things like, "I'm on the road, missing my son at home." Ugh. Eventually, he ended up in a homeless shelter somewhere in California where he had an ethereal revelation that he needed to come back to Michigan, get a job, and finally be a better father to our son. Unfortunately, this was all talk, and nothing changed. This revelation was 2 years ago, yet I still haven't received any kind of child support from him, monetary or otherwise. I didn't mind, as honestly, my life is a lot happier when I don't have to deal with his hogwash. Since then, my ex seems to have gotten his act together, found a new girlfriend, who is also a single mother, a new job, and has started his own business on the side. A little irritating that he can afford to bring his new girlfriend out for expensive dinners and buy new toys or clothes for her son, but still has spent no money on ours. I don't mind this as long as he leaves me alone, though, as once again, I need to state I am happier without him and his idiocy in my life. Last November, he actually took me to court because he felt he deserved visitation rights. I said this was fine, provided that he finally starts paying support for his son. I tend to be a little timid when it comes to things like this. I've got no idea what my rights are, and I'm a little scared to speak up in these situations. That day in court, I more or less let him make a fool out of himself in front of the hearing, and it made me smile a little seeing how much of an idiot he proved himself to be. I now realize that I was ultimately the loser that day, as now I am legally obliged to let this guy see my son twice a week indefinitely. What's worse is that I still haven't received a cent in child support over 3 months later. It's slowly driving me into insanity having to deal with this jerkwad twice a week, and I am sure my son feels the same animosity towards him. For daycare, he had to draw a picture of his family, and it was just me and him. When my ex asked, "What about me?" my son told him he wasn't part of his family. The other week, he left me a message telling me to call the child support off and to stop this nonsense, as if this is a personal vendetta between him and me. How can he be this stupid? I work paycheck to paycheck just so I can afford our food and rent. I have no savings whatsoever for my future, let alone our son's. I can't even afford his daycare. My significant other has paid over $8,000 from his own pocket just so my son could interact with children his own age and get a basic education while I'm at work. I love my significant other, but it fills me with immense guilt because my son should not be his problem. Today, I received a letter in the mail saying that he has been to court and filled in some paperwork stating he can only afford $50 to $100 bi-weekly, which I know is an outright lie, and that he thinks he shouldn't have to pay regular child support because he didn't get a choice in selecting our son's daycare? Is there any legal action I can take to either force him to pay child support or get him out of my life completely? Legally, he owes me around $3,200 from just this last 4 months, let alone the last 4 years of my life spent raising our son alone. I can't believe he's doing this to me again. It feels like he gets to do whatever he wants with no guilt or consequences, and it makes me feel so helpless and stupid. I'm sorry if this is the wrong place for this kind of post. I'm just feeling really sad and wanted to vent somewhere where others might understand what I'm feeling and sympathize. Everything in my life right now feels completely unfair. That just really sucks. That's just really awful when it seems like everything that's supposed to go your way, isn't. It does feel like life is unfair when fools and idiots get to have whatever fun they want and you're stuck with the responsibilities. And again, not a lawyer, can't give you legal advice, but there should be someone willing to take on this case. There's some sort of resource, public resource that you can avail yourself of. It's got to be something. I really hope you can find what you're looking for. Story 2. 50 grams over the weight limit at the airport? I guess I'll eat them. This happened a couple of days ago. For Americans, 50 grams equals 1.76 ounces, 200 grams equals 7 ounces, 23 kilograms equals 50.7 pounds. So when I travel by plane, which happens about 2 or 3 times per year, I'm usually quite conscious about the weight of my luggage because of how much you have to pay if it exceeds the limit. This time, I put a bit more stuff in because of gifts, but I thought I was fine. I pass the police and get to the check-in, where a woman in her late 30s, early 40s reminded me of my old history teacher and indicated to me to proceed. I give my passport, do the usual stuff, and I put my luggage on the scale, which shows 23.05 kilograms, the limit being 23. I was quite pleased with myself while looking at it, thinking I got it just right. But no. The woman tells me that I need to pay 50 euros for excess baggage. I look at her confused, telling her it's 50 grams. Surely it doesn't matter. She repeats herself, and we start arguing until she says, either you pay 50 euros or you somehow make the luggage 50 grams lighter. I didn't have a carry-on, so I couldn't take anything with me. At that moment, I remember the 200 grams of chocolate that's sitting in the luggage, and I start smiling. I open the luggage, take the chocolate out, and start nibbling at it with a grin on my face while looking at the woman, who goes from Pikachu face to annoyed. She told me to hurry up, even though I was the only one in line, so I offered her some, and she just stared at me. I ended up eating exactly a quarter of the 200 grams, and lo and behold, the scale showed 23 kilograms. The woman gives me my ticket while glaring at me, and I tell her to have a good day. Maybe she wasn't allowed to take some kind of sweets or any kind of food or anything from passengers for a kind of a safety issue, but yeah, that kind of quibbling, 50 grams. I can understand the need to have holds on luggage to keep the plane in the air, possibly, or not give them any trouble. But 50 grams? Yeah, there should be some leeway, shouldn't there? Just a little bit? Just a little bit? Not even that much chocolate is allowed? It's kind of unfair. Story 1. I'm pregnant and being investigated by DCS. I'm 29 years old. Happily married, my husband and I are college educated, have respectable, stable jobs, own a home in a nice neighborhood. We're basically as prepared as anyone can be to start a family. I'm almost 9 months pregnant with our first child. The problem is that 11 years ago, when my husband was a freshman in college, he was arrested for possession of marijuana. It was a large enough amount that he was charged with a Class D felony. Our jurisdiction is very harsh regarding marijuana, but not intent to deal. He pleaded guilty and did his time and probation without a problem, passing every substance test along the way. He has not touched marijuana or any other illegal substance since, and we rarely even drink, and haven't at all in over a year. I have no criminal record, and have never done any illicit substances myself. It was a stupid mistake he made as a foolish 18-year-old, and he's worked hard to put it behind him. Someone has apparently contacted child services in our area and informed them that we are substance users. This accusation is being taken very seriously because of my husband's record. We have been as cooperative as we could be with our caseworker, and we've been interviewed, our home has been examined, and she found nothing remotely suspicious or incriminating. We've both taken substance tests and passed. Our caseworker says that everything looks just fine so far. Unfortunately, she also says that there's still the possibility that our child could be taken away from us in the labor and delivery ward, and that we won't be allowed to take her home. I was devastated and horrified to hear that. When I asked why, she said that it was not up to her and we'll have to wait and see, which made absolutely no sense to me. What gives? I feel like there's something she isn't telling me. But I have no experience with DCS, and I'm not aware of anything we could have possibly done wrong. I know they'll have to test my daughter for substances once she's born, but she's not been exposed to substances. Nothing more than prenatal vitamins, not even Tylenol. And I already proved that by passing a substance test. I'm scared and confused. Do I need a lawyer? I had anticipated spending our savings on our new daughter and prenatal leave, but I'll use that money for a lawyer if I have to. Wow, that's really awful. I don't know the jurisdiction you're in, can't offer legal advice. To me, it sounds like you're going to have to get a lawyer, because that's what it's going to have to be. You're just going to have to sacrifice for the now, for me it seems. Again, I don't know what jurisdiction you're in and what the laws are, and I don't know if anyone has any advice. I'm really sorry for what you're going through. But it does sound like you'll have to lawyer up. Story 2. Racist Karen calls the cops on my cousin, so I get their business closed down. Background. My cousin, 23 female, recently opened up her own salon. From a young age, she taught herself how to thread and wax eyebrows and developed an interest in makeup and hair. Everyone in our extended family would go to her before events and on a monthly basis for their threading, waxing, hair, and makeup needs. In 2020, she had a full-time job, non-salon related, but decided to renovate the basement of her home to create a small salon space. She now spends her free time taking clients in her at-home salon, and there's nothing but great reviews. Her sister helped with the renovations and now helps her with marketing the business, social media, community pages, and I help with the finances, budgeting, price setting. We all support her and are really proud of her. That salon is our baby. We're now in the middle of a pandemic, and this greatly affected her salon business. As a result, she implemented safety measures, and our small team made sure to keep up with COVID regulations in our city. This included having one customer inside at a time, doing temperature checks, making masks and face shields and gloves mandatory, wiping down the salon after each client, etc. Also, when our city was in lockdown, the salon was closed as it's a non-essential service. Incident. Scenario. Our city is once again in lockdown from the end of December to the end of January. The salon has been closed since the lockdown began. The salon's social media pages have been updated to let the current clientele know that the salon is closed. Now comes Karen. Karen sees a community post from October detailing a discount that the salon was having on a certain package we offer. She comments on the post saying that she can't believe the salon is open in the middle of a lockdown when her salon has to be closed. This is important for later. Karen fails to notice that this post was made in October, when salons were allowed to operate as long as they followed safety regulations. Karen doesn't bother checking more recent posts indicating that the salon was closed. My cousin doesn't see her reply at this time. The next day, 2 police officers show up at my cousin's door while she's at a doctor's appointment. The officers ask for my cousin, and my aunt lets them know that she's not at home right now. My aunt doesn't speak English very well and lets the officers know that she would call my cousin and ask her to come home. Maybe the officers didn't believe her, but they insisted on coming inside the home. My aunt had already called my cousin as she was worried. My cousin asked what this was all about, but my aunt didn't know. My cousin then asked if they had a warrant for anything. When she found out they didn't, she told her mom not to let them come inside and that she would be there in about 20 minutes. My cousin began driving home when my aunt called her to let her know that they simply left. Hearing this, my cousin was less worried and decided to go grocery shopping as planned before heading home. Turns out, the officers came back half an hour later and once again demanded to see my cousin. My aunt called my cousin again and asked her to come home, but in the 20 minutes she took to come home, the officers were gone. They had left a card and asked her to call back. My cousin managed to get a hold of the officers and was told that someone had reported her business. They claimed that she was operating during the lockdown and they had proof. My cousin knew this wasn't true as the salon had been closed for quite a while. By now, my cousin had seen the comment from earlier and mentioned that she knew exactly what their so-called proof was, but the post in question was from October. My cousin was very upset at this post, and it was not even close to being actual evidence of her operating now. In January, she was also very upset that they had insisted on coming inside the house with no cause or warrant when they could clearly see that my aunt does not understand the language very well. At the end of the conversation, the police officers apologized to my cousin, and we thought that was the end of it. You must be wondering how we know that Karen was the one who called the cops. Well, she told us. The next day, my cousin received a message she realized was from the woman who commented on the post. Karen decided to pretend like she's a customer. Karen: "Can I book an appointment?" My cousin: "Hey, love, we're currently closed due to the lockdown. Once the lockdown is over, we'll be more than happy to book you in." Karen: "Oh, my girlfriend was there yesterday. My apologies." My cousin: "You must have gotten the date wrong. The salon is not taking clients until the lockdown is over. Thank you." Karen: "No problem, but I didn't get the date wrong. I also know the police came due to you being open. Take care." My cousin: "I'm not going to sit here and entertain your boring life. Maybe for a change you can find another hobby rather than spreading lies and wasting people's time, including the police's time. Or even better, find an actual job. Have a good night." Karen: "I own my own spa that's closed, as should yours be. My mom is the one who called the cops. You're not entertaining me at all. Go back to your own country instead of fracking with ours." Oh, no. My cousin decided to block her at this point. My cousin was happy this was all over. My sister and I were still outraged at the racist comment and how someone could make up lies about a small business that led to the cops terrifying my aunt. When my cousin told me about Karen, the fact that she had her own spa really stood out. I did some digging. Revenge. Turns out, Karen runs her own spa out of her house. Doing some more snooping, I found reviews from her clients on her business page that were posted on days that the city was under lockdown. The reviews could be from clients who received services before the lockdown and only now had a chance to write a review. To be sure, I found Karen's Instagram page. I decided to use her own trick against her. I created a new account with a generic name and followed her page so she couldn't see that I was related to my cousin. I then messaged her to ask about prices for her services. Me: "Hey, I love your pics. I was wondering how much you charge." Karen: "Hey girl, thank you so much. What services are you after?" Me: "I'm really interested in the BB Glow Facial." Karen: "That's awesome. My biggest seller for sure. Normally it's $125, but it's on BOGO, so you pay for one session and get two." Me: "That's such a great deal compared to others. When is your next available date?" Karen: "Where are you located? I can't have people come to me in lockdown, but I travel to my clients. Karen was not operating from her home location due to lockdown restrictions, but was traveling to her clients' homes, which is still against regulations. I then made up a lie about my home not having adequate space and asked for her address so we could meet up at my friend's place somewhere between her and my location. She foolishly told me her address. During this time, I also tried joining other community groups that she was a part of. In one particular group, people in the community were promoting their small businesses. She had recently made a post about discounts on her services for the month of January. I immediately went online and submitted a report about her business still operating, including screenshots, her address, full name, etc. A few days passed, and I had forgotten to check up on it as I was busy with life again. I saw the incident report number on a sticky note I had on my desk and decided to check in. Apparently, this was not Karen's first offense. Karen had already been fined $750 for having a client in her home during the first lockdown in my city. After being fined, she decided to change her business model and go to the client's home instead. Now she was fined $10,000. I was still following her on Instagram, so I decided to check it out. She had gone on a rant about how she was going to do very bad things to the person who reported her. She also mentioned that she was no longer allowed to run her own business. I'm not sure what type of ban the regional police put on her, but I immediately deleted the account and exited the groups I had joined earlier. At the end of the day, Karen got what she deserved, and I fulfilled my dream of pretending to be Sherlock Holmes. It's gonna come back around to you, whatever. I have been kind of undecided in the spiritual sense for a long time, but stories like this tend to make me believe in, well, the American version of karma. I think it's a little bit different when you delve into the actual origins that word karma and that concept is from, but karma! Definitely.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.